Hey everybody, John with Vynyly here. Hope you guys had a great holiday, whatever holiday you celebrate in December. I hope it was a great one. This video is going to be a very quick how to set up your turntable. If you got a new turntable over the holidays, or if you had one that maybe you dug out because you got some records over the holidays as gifts, whatever it may be. I want to give you 3 quick ways to adjust your turntable or test to make sure that it's good to go out of the box. 3 things we're going to focus on today. RPM, is your turntable spinning at the correct speed, and how to adjust that. Tracking force, which is the force exerted downward by your needle. You don't want that to be too heavy because that's going to do some damage to your records and your needle, and you're not going to get a full dynamic range of the music. You also don't want it to be too light for the same reason, as far as you're not going to pick up all of the dynamic range of the recording, and if it's really light, it could skip. It could jump out of the groove into another one. So we don't want either of those 2 things to happen. So we're going to talk about RPM on your turntable. We're talking about tracking force, make sure your force is set correctly, and we're going to talk about anti-skate, which is the tendency for the needle to travel in and out, exert forces in and out in the groove. Now the groove is set up so that certain information is on the left and other information is on the right. That's your left and right stereo channels, right? So you don't want your needle to be forcing to the left or to the right. You'll mess up your balance of your audio signal, and you'll wear your records out faster, and you won't be hearing the music. It won't be reproduced the way that it should be. Let's put it that way. So we're going to test turntable, RPM, tracking force, and anti-skate. Real quick, here we go. All right, first let's talk about your turntable's RPM, or revolutions per minute. There are 2 ways to measure this. On this particular turntable, we've got a strobe here and indicator squares here. So what you want to do on a turntable like this is get your speed set, 33 or 45. Get your turntable started. I have the lift indicator up so that my tone arm doesn't drop. And you'll notice the first, there we go. I had to move the tone arm because I wanted to turn off automatically. And it's doing it again. There we go. Okay. Again. It's up. Not going to drop. So you'll notice the first row of squares is your 33 indicator, and they look stationary. If your speed was a little bit off, and here's the speed adjustments on this particular one, 33 and 45. If the speed was a little bit off, the squares would look like they are moving. Now I'll misadjust it a little bit. See, now that bottom row of squares looks like it's moving to the right. We want that to be completely stationary. There we go. Same with 45. But on the 45, you'll notice it's the next row up on the indicator. We want those squares to be completely stationary on that second row, which they are. So that's one way. If you've got a strobe and indicators and some adjusters on the front of your turntable, that's one way to test your RPMs, make sure that you are spinning at the correct speed. Now the other way to do it would be to use an app on your phone and actually place your phone on your turntable. You can place it either here, or if you're like me and after Christmas you've got a bunch of these empty tape rolls, you can put that there and then put your phone right on top of that. And the gyrometer, is that what it's called? The gyroscope in your phone will indicate the speed that the phone is spinning. That's pretty accurate as well. I like the strobe method more, but a lot of turntables don't have these. So if you don't have that and you have to use the RPM app on your phone, you can do that. It works really, really good and will get you pretty close. Maybe even exactly where you need to be. It's important, right? You need to have the correct You need to be spinning at the correct RPMs to hear your music and the correct frequency. You don't want everything to sound like the Chipmunks unless it is the Chipmunks, which I hope it's not. So anyway, there are two ways to check your speed on your turntable. Now, if you don't have these adjusters, some turntables will have adjusters. Some will have adjustment screws on the underneath. You'll just need to read the manual for your particular turntable to know if your speed can be adjusted or not. All right, so let's talk about tracking force. Tracking force, once again, is the amount of force the cartridge exerts on the record while it's being played. And you'll see way in the back here, there's a tracking force counterweight. And that's how you set the amount of force that the needle exerts up and down. Now, each cartridge will have its own specified recommended amount of tracking force. This particular one I know is 1.5 grams. So you can set the counterweight, back the counterweight off to 0, move it in to 1.5 grams and call it a day. That's fine for you to do that. But these little tracking force meters are very cheap on Amazon, and this is a way for you to have kind of a second opinion. The numbers on these consumer level turntables are not always exactly right. So it's good to have a way to double check. So here I'm just going to turn the tracking force meter on, let it zero out. And this is a good manual turntable, so I can have the player not spinning. That would be a problem. So bring this over. Hard to do with one hand. Here we go. Drop the needle on the weight, and there we are, 1.5 grams. Right on. Now, of course, I've already set this. If it was off, we'd need to spin the counterweight clockwise or counterclockwise to add or subtract weight. But there we go, 1.5 grams is the recommended setting for this one. If you are concerned that your meter may not be calibrated correctly, this particular one comes with a 5 gram weight. You can drop it on there and boom, there it is. Okay, it may be 1/100th of a gram off, but I'm okay with that. So this one's calibrated correctly, and now so is the tracking force on my tone arm. So now let's talk about setting the Antiskate. Now the theory is that you would set the Antiskate number, the Antiskate force, I guess you would say, to match exactly the tracking force. So on this particular model, again, tracking force is 1.5 grams. The Antiskate should be around 1.5 as well. I have not found that to be the case on this one. You can do that, and that's fine if you listen to it and you can hear that your sound is a little heavy on one side or the other, left or right. You can adjust it just based on hearing. Or you can get one of these relatively inexpensive Antiskate test discs. Now this one is plastic, so there may be a little variation here, maybe a little wobbly, but you can get these in acrylic. You can, I don't know if you can get a glass one or not, but glass would be great. Or you can use a laser disc if you happen to have a laser disc sitting around. So here, just for an example, here's my Antiskate disc. I'll drop that on the turntable. Get the turntable going. Now you know the theory here is that we don't want the cartridge to drift in or out. We want it to sit exactly in one spot so that it's not exerting force inward or outward into the groove of the record, right? So this one should be set. I'm going to just drop the needle right on this disc. This disc has no grooves on it, so it won't damage the needle. I'm just going to set this right down on here. Ooh. Maybe my Antiskate is not set correctly. Guess I'm not going to have to demonstrate incorrectly set Antiskate because this one is exerting some outward pressure. So we're going to have to fix that. I'm going to try to do it one-handed. Not the easiest thing to do one-handed, let me tell you. a little bit closer. So what I'm doing here is I'm turning this dial. And that actually looks pretty good. So there we go. So now I've showed you what bad tracking force looks like and what good tracking force looks like. I am dropping this around halfway into the audible section of what a record would be. You can put it on the inside if you want. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So let's see where we ended up on tracking force here. If I can get that in focus. Looks like, wow, almost at 0. That's really strange. But that's the benefit of having a test disc. You can drop your needle and you can know for sure if it's going to be drifting at all. This one is really solid right now. All right, so again, I said that was a real quick and dirty, high-level way to adjust your turntable, get it set to where you can enjoy your records and hear them the way they're meant to be heard. This is not a deep dive by any means. Of course, there are other channels and other videos on YouTube which delves into the science behind all of this. I'm more concerned with the people who, hey, I got a new turntable for Christmas. How do I make sure it's giving me the best performance it can give me without becoming an electrical engineer? So that's what this video was about. I hope you enjoyed it. This is, gosh, this will be the last video of 2023, I guess. So I will see you all after the new year. And I thank you for watching. If you haven't liked and subscribed yet, this would be a great time to do it. And I hope you guys all have a great day.